Hello guys, how are you?
I'm Hardeep Singh. Welcome back to your own YouTube channel. IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test, and speaking, you got guesswork. Please guys participate in everyday listening and reading practice test to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Press the bell icon for the upcoming notifications. Don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams.
Part 1.
We'll hear a man renting an apartment over the phone. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Hello, how can I help you?
Hello, I want to rent an apartment. I saw your advertisement about two-bedroom apartment on Bridge Street.
Bridge Street 32, that's it?
Exactly. But I have a couple of questions.
Yes, I'm listening.
Does rent include all the utilities, such as gas, electricity, phone, etc.?
Yes, sure. You are only responsible to pay the rent. The lease includes cost for such utilities as gas, heat, water, electricity and phone.
Great. And what about the internet?
Unfortunately, the internet is not connected. But you shouldn't worry about that. If you wish, you can contact the local providers to set up the connection.
Okay. And what kind of public transport is near the apartment?
It is very close to public transport. Both underground and bus station are about 2 blocks away.
Very good. I think I'll rent this apartment.
Very nice. Could you tell me your full name, please?
Yes. It's John Hooper. Hooper is spelled with double O. H-double-O. Then P-E-R.
Thank you, John. I'm Mary Dixon, and I'll be your apartment manager.
Thank you.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10.
Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Now, we need to meet to sign a lease agreement.
Okay. What documents should I bring?
First of all, we require proof of your identity.
Then, I can bring my driving license.
I'm sorry, but driving licenses are not accepted. Could you bring your passport?
Yes, sure. And do you require a tax bill?
No, we're not requiring any bills. But you need to present your current employment contract.
No problem, I have it. Anything else?
Yes, we also need a reference from a friend or colleague, confirming your character.
Okay. And what about a reference from an employer?
We used to ask tenants for this reference a few years ago. But now we don't need it anymore. As well as your recent payslips, they are not required.
Very good. I think I have all the documents. Is it possible to meet you today?
Yes. Is 5:30 p.m. convenient for you?
Unfortunately, I'm busy until 6 p.m.
Then we can meet at 6:30 p.m.
Yes, 6:30 is very good for me. I'll be at your office by that time.
I think it's better to meet directly at your future apartment, because we'll anyway make a visit.
Oh, you're right. See you soon.
Thank you. See you soon.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute
to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
You will hear the information about tickets to one of the royal palaces in London. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 16. As you listen to the first part of the talk, answer questions 11 to 16.
Thank you for deciding to visit historic royal palaces of the United Kingdom. Every year dozens of tourists choose to visit the Tower of London, and we have a variety of tickets to suit your own interests. If you wish to make a single visit, you can buy a single-day ticket. This ticket enables you to visit only the Tower of London. The adult ticket's cost is £24. Children between the ages of 5 and 15 pay £18, and children under 5 can visit the tower for free. For full-time students, 16 years and over, and disabled visitors we offer a reduced tariff. If you have a reduced tariff, you pay only £19. And if you're going to make a visit with your family, it's a good idea to get a family ticket. The family ticket enables you to visit the tower and one other royal palace during one day. It costs £55 and can be used by up to 2 adults and 3 children. For permanent visitors we offer an annual membership. The annual membership provides you unlimited entry to any 5 royal palaces and costs £107 for both adults and children over 5 years.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions
17 to 20. Now listen, and answer questions 17 to 20.
If you can't wait to visit these famous historical places, and have already chosen your ticket type, then it's time to order tickets. The first and the easiest way is to buy your tickets online. To do this, you should visit our site and select a date, then make a payment. Make sure that after the payment is completed, you receive a confirmation email of your booking. The second way is to book your tickets by telephone. However, you have to pay an additional fee when ordering tickets over the phone. Plus, telephone bookings are not available during the weekends and holidays. So this option is not very convenient. And if you don't want to plan your visit in advance, there is a third option for you. You can simply purchase the tickets in person on the day of your visit. There are plenty of ticket kiosks near the Tower of London and other royal palaces. I hope that you'll enjoy your visit.
The end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
You will hear a tutor and 2 students discussing international student mobility. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 26. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 26.
Hi, Nils. Hi, Eva. Come in and sit down. You wanted to talk about your research paper, is that right?
Yes, we've drawn up an outline for the introduction and done some preliminary interviews.
And how did that go?
We've come across some interesting findings.
Okay, well, let's go through what you've done so far. What's the subject?
Right, so we're doing our paper on international student mobility.
We're looking at the overall picture. You know, where overseas students are going in the world to study and why. And we think that picture's changing.
Sounds interesting.
The first thing we've looked at is numbers. And as part of that, how many students there are in total who are studying outside their own country.
That seems easy. It looks like it's around 3 million.
Yeah, but the problem is that the definition of the term international student varies across countries.
Yeah, and because of that, the figure could be much higher.
I see.
Our next question was, well, we wanted to know what the breakdown of numbers is around the world. You know, how many students go where. But we're not sure how accurate those figures are either.
Yeah, even though it's the fastest growing sector of higher education, some ministries don't include the students at private institutions in their count.
It's quite frustrating. Anyway, next we wanted to know where the majority of students come from.
This is something that's changing quite rapidly.
Well, that would be an interesting point. What's changing?
Most people know that the largest group of international students comes from East Asia.
But what we hadn't realized is that figures for the US have quadrupled over the past 20 years, and a lot more students from Europe are also now studying abroad.
Aha!
Yeah, we need to look at some more figures there.
Lastly, we looked at the countries that students go to and the trends there.
Yeah, our question really was about the destinations of international students and whether they're changing.
And they are. Countries like China are providing more higher education opportunities for their own students and for students from places like Britain.
This means that higher education is becoming more, well, there are high levels of competition.
But with that, there's also a spirit of exchange. It's not so one-sided anymore.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
So, you said you'd done some preliminary interviews.
Yes, we thought we'd start by talking to some of the international students in our city.
Just to help us design the web interviews we plan to do.
Okay.
We wanted to find out if there are common factors that students consider to be important when they choose an overseas course.
Obviously, these will vary across the international student population, but we thought some, like cost, might be significant.
Surprisingly, a lot of students said they left finances to their parents, but they did want to know that their university was a good one.
They said they decided about this by talking to friends at home, not by looking at how many degrees or publications the staff had.
That's right. But they were interested in the degrees they were taking and whether when they finished their course they'd get a good job.
Okay. What else did you ask them about?
what sort of incentives they think source countries should offer students to encourage them to return home after they've graduated.
A very interesting question. What did you find?
Well, many said that if they chose to get another qualification, they'd stay or move to a third country to do this.
Yeah, so there doesn't seem to be much point in offering scholarships to get them to return home to study.
What about grants for research?
Post-graduation. That was much more popular, especially if the system let them compete individually for these.
And many students were keen to go home and get a job if they could be sure they'd have a good income and lifestyle.
For example, they felt that the government should perhaps offer tax exemptions so that they could afford to live in a nice area.
Some countries have created special work zones for incoming graduates, particularly in the science field.
Yeah, and some of these include apartment blocks as well.
But as many of the students we talked to were art students, this didn't seem to appeal to them.
Okay, well, I think that's a pretty good start.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
As part of this series of lectures on wildlife, I'm going to talk today about lions, about their history and about some of the work that's been done with lions in recent years. When we think of lions, we tend to think of Africa, as this is the only area of the world where they still exist in the wild, apart from some small groups in the Indian forest of Gir. But you might be surprised to know that lions were once virtually everywhere on the planet. In fact, if you go back 500,000 years, there were more lions roaming the world than dogs or monkeys. You could bump into one in London, Moscow, or LA. In every part of Africa apart from the desert. In fact, the only continents that were and have always been lion-free were the frozen plains of Antarctica, which were obviously much too inhospitable for this jungle creature, and Australia, though there is plenty of bushland there. So what happened? Well, we know for certain that as recently as the 1800s, that's just 200 years ago, lions were being hunted to extinction in some parts of the world, sometimes just for sport. But long before that, about 10,000 years ago, lions started to disappear from various corners of the globe. Scientists believe there was the usual battle with our human ancestors for food in the form of other, smaller creatures, with many lions also being killed to make clothing. So lions may have gone from Europe, but there are plenty of prehistoric paintings to witness their presence, and they reveal some interesting facts. Let's take a look. These cave paintings were found in France. The outlines are slightly blurred because they were hand-drawn using materials like charcoal or ochre, but the images are still very clear, and the interesting thing is that, as you can see, In the past, lions were actually a lot bigger than they are now. They come up to this man's waist. You may think the size has been exaggerated because of the man's fear, but there's plenty of fossil evidence that supports the larger proportions these animals once had, when you compare them with the African lions of the present day. The other curious thing here is that none of the male lions seen in cave paintings like this have the long black or blonde hair around their necks and faces that is called a mane. Now, the lion's mane is another interesting feature of these creatures. No one seems to know much about it. There are none in cave paintings like these. And even today, the date when the lion's mane first appeared is unknown. And there is disagreement among scientists as to what its purpose is. A lot of work has gone into researching this. If you think about it, no other cat has a mane. So why does a lion have one? And a lion's mane can be various lengths and colours, not unlike human hair. Some are long, some are short. They can be black, brown, or blonde, and they can be in good or bad condition. What scientists do know is that when lions fight, they tend to go for each other's necks. And at first, this led some researchers to believe that the mane acts as a form of protection during battles with neighbouring prides. That may be partly true, but not everyone agrees it's the whole explanation. One leading lion expert believes that manes are more to do with attracting females and scaring off males, and he's run an experiment to test this theory out. What he did was to make 5 toy lions and put them in the lion's territory. He made sure they all looked different. Some had long, light-coloured manes, some had short, dark ones, and so on. He put these in places where they were sure to be seen, and for a while the lions ignored them. But eventually they went up to the models, and, well, the female lions were attracted to the ones that had long, dark manes. The male lions weren't. They just kept away from them. What interested them were the ones with short, blonde manes. They approached these and bit or clawed them quite aggressively. When the results of this study were compared with the real-world situation, it was found that lions with long, dark manes tend to be the healthiest, while ones with short, blonde manes are more likely to be injured or sick. Thus, the team concluded that a lion's mane is effectively a status symbol, that it shows how strong and healthy the lion is, and as a result makes the lion more attractive to females.
That is the end of part 4.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
So guys, don't forget like, subscribe and share my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, IELTS updates and recent exams. For more updates related to recent IELTS exam writing test topics, listening, reading, practice test and speaking, you cut guesswork. Please guys, participate in everyday new IELTS listening and reading practice tests to achieve your desired band score in your actual IELTS exam. For more IELTS material, visit my official website www.ieltsupdatesandrecentexams.com. The link is given below in the description. If you need PDF files of latest IELTS material, then please join my Telegram channel. So guys, please write your score below the comment section. Again, thanks for listening. God bless you all guys. Stay tuned, stay safe.